The number one mistake most entrepreneurs make is not become AI ready. And that's precisely why in today's episode, we have Tom Altman, and he will talk about how your business can become AI ready so that you can be ahead of 99% of entrepreneurs. So the first question is, what's the secret to your success? And does AI have anything to do with it? Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask me all my secrets here today, but Lily, thank you. I think the secret of my success is I really like to double down and focus on aligning technology with strategy. So that's how we're going to get a company AI ready. We dig in and do all those kind of things, and we kind of inspect the systems, and then we inspect the processes. And by the time we do that, then we can get your systems and processes ready to be enabled by AI. And that's something that everyone's looking forward to. We're getting really close to we talk about AI a lot, but in the coming months, we're going to see where these AI agents start to come out and really take over some of these processes for us and help streamline our businesses, which I think is going to be a really great thing for all of us.
Thank you. So you're currently a CTO and CIO, and you have some tremendous achievements and successes. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And what kind of companies you've helped? What kind of processes did you take them through in order to go to a big success? And what was your journey on the way?
Sure. I always like to say I was a radio DJ turned web programmer, turned web manager, turned consultant, and then kind of got into CIO and CTOing. And by doing that, it's been a great time. I've spent a lot of time in consulting firms where we could go out and really dig down and help people solve some of their problems. And then I worked at an e-commerce companies and spent about 15 years doing e-commerce, where we took a company from $7 million to $60 million in a matter of about 10 years. So in doing those things, you just learn so many things about how to adjust, how to read the strategy and implement so that you can really get people results. And that's what I love doing.
Thank you. How can an entrepreneur become AI ready?
That's a great question. So I like to break it down into systems and processes. So the first thing, if you're going to become AI ready, AI is not going to come in and understand your business for you. You have to tell it who you are and what your business is. And that on the technology side starts with knowing your systems. So mapping out your systems, figuring out what departments use what systems and kind of drawing those maps. And then you can take on top of that and apply your processes to those. So just your standard SOPs, as we call them all the time, standard operating procedures. If we look at those and we get those really documented so that everyone has the information that they use daily to do their job, that's how you're going to become AI ready. Because when AI is really set up on the tee and ready to hit a hole in one, it's going to be when you know exactly what you needed to do. And then we can apply those new AI agents that are starting to come out to your business and really streamline and start to make efficiencies that I think people will really enjoy.
Thank you. I would say a lot of entrepreneurs are currently using ChatGPT at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're missing out on a gazillion other AI tools. So I wonder, what do you suggest they do in order to start implementing some great strategies for implementing AI in their business that will help them grow?
Yeah. I think a lot of times when we're using ChatGPT, it's kind of like, we're using the home version. We're doing a one person to one ChatGPT. But when you think about your business, there's kind of a couple other things that we want to think about, right? Like the AI readiness, like we already talked about. The second thing is, how do we want people to interact with AI from the company standpoint? And then how do we keep the company information secure so that it's not kind of being volatile to some, we hear about data breaches or data information that gets shared because of AI. So I think if you can focus on those three things, getting AI ready using the systems, diagrams, and processes, and then if you can think about teaching your employees like the best ways to use AI within the company. And then the third thing is making sure you kind of keep your knowledge and your proprietary company information safe and secure. Those three elements are really the big pieces of when it comes to AI planning and strategy in a business.
Thank you. How can entrepreneurs start leveraging AI agents?
Yeah. So AI agents are very new and they're starting to come out. And think about them instead of, if you can imagine automation, like we can program things to do lots of things for us. When we have our SOPs written down, though, eventually what's going to happen is say, we want to buy widget X at $1,000 a piece. And when they get to that price, I want you to go ahead and buy 30,000 of those widgets. If you can imagine the future, we'll be telling our AI agents these kind of things, and then it'll take over and come back to us if there's questions, or come back with the number of widgets that we wanted. That's kind of how AI agents work. It's going to be told commands, almost like you would a person. They're going to go execute those commands and then come back to the business with that information or the product or that whatever.
Thank you. Give me another example of how to use AI agents, for example, for marketing. Is it possible to create an AI agent that will be emailing your list or a particular client about something? And if yes, how do you make this happen?
Yeah, at the moment, kind of AI agents are just theory, but how they're going to work is if you can imagine you're using a company like Active Campaign is one of the mailing programs. So maybe what would happen is you say, we want to dig into our customer list and we want to send information out to all the people that like blue widgets that are already in our system, right? So then the agent would comb through the CRM, find the people that fall under that criteria and send them an email. And those are the ways that, like, instead of saying, writing a report and finding the information yourself, uploading that list of those particular customers to an Active Campaign, and then sending those out like that, it's going to take care of the kind of the middle work. So you're just going to ask it to do those commands. It's going to come back and say, hey, we were 98% successful. We did a good job. And oh, by the way, here's a link to the sales results based on that information, if that's what you're looking for. So just thinking about it, thinking ahead for us, thinking about the intentions of what we want, and then executing on those plans.
Thank you. Have you seen any AI sales agents? And if yes, have you started implementing them?
I have not started implementing those personally yet, but I have seen a lot of them. I think where it's more popular right at the moment is instead of the physical sales part, you're seeing a lot of AI agents and happenings around cold calling, either getting the list ready or also in the space of customer service. So most companies have a ton of information about their products that they're selling. And if you load those all up into a knowledge base, there's apps out there like Cassidy AI that will allow you to chat questions to your product database or your product manuals and help you with customer service. So I think right now, very popular in the customer service space, very soon coming in the sales space, which is going to get very interesting.
Thank you. I've seen actually a tool called SalesApe.ai, which promises to get sales done for you. Have you seen anything similar to this that can be implemented in order to increase your sales?
I haven't seen it on the strictly handling the sales part yet, mostly around helping your salespeople take over and help like enhance the sales conversation. But I'm sure that there's a ton of people working on that. I know, again, in the sales cold calling, I know I've seen a ton of interesting work done there where even like AI created, what am I trying to say? Avatars that actually do the talking and everything for you based on information that you've used. And that is very, very interesting.
Thank you. I've seen some AI that was advertised as well in Facebook ads where they were promising to get you your calendar booked, your calendar filled with booked appointments. So I wonder if you've used any of those kind of AI, and if yes, how does that work?
I have not used that. I am not a like active seller, but how that can work is they use either phone calling, and then they generate, like there's a company called 11 Labs that can kind of clone your voice and then it uses those words. And then there's also a company called Hey Jen that'll make an avatar for you that looks just like you if you were doing video calls. what it does is it connects directly into your calendar, and it attaches to your CRM, and it just kind of, if you can imagine, just goes out and tries to make those connections for you. There's some probably questions around at the moment in time. Is that exactly what people want? Do we need to let them know that that's an agent for you yet? I think those things will get sorted out in the not too distant future.
Thank you. Tell us about other ways that entrepreneurs can prepare for their business to be AI ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned Chat GPT, playing with the tools, understanding how those work, and then looking to continue to clean up CRMs and these kind of things. Your CRM is your golden database of all your customer information. And so there's companies out there like Clay AI, which will take your customers and it'll go out and kind of fill in the missing information that exists for you there. And when that happens, that's just manual work that people don't have to do. And then if we think about going back and running an email newsletter against that, you can segment your data so much better when you have more information about each one of your customers or potential customers. And and then that's where you look at some companies like a drip.com, which can then go in and start to automate the LinkedIn spaces if you're trying to do some business development in that way. So I think you'll start to see these tools kind of all being pulled together, kind of added together to each other to build out a process that can really increase at least your awareness and hopefully, generate some of those cold call leads or even sales.
Thank you. Tell us more about how AI has already transformed your current business.
Yeah, so I'm in the fractional business. It's kind of like part-time C-suite members. And for me, what I love about it is I deal with many different clients at the same time. So what I like to be able to do is kind of have my pockets of information about each client. And then when I'm trying to generate information for them, I can use that as my kind of knowledge base. And that just allows me to be more effective, kind of less generic and more specific to their business. Even though some of the principles you're going to use over and over again, but then you can tailor the messaging to the client.
Thank you. Most people use ChatGPT in a very generic way. Tell us more about how entrepreneurs can use it in a more advanced way.
One of the best things that you can do, and I think a lot of people know this, but is to have it train itself on your writing. You can ask ChatGPT, say, hey, I want you to learn how I write. And so it sounds more like me when the output is coming out. And it'll give you questions, and then you can kind of give it samples and then continually updating that. That's information that's always can be updated. So if you keep that information relevant, so that means you're recording more of your talks that you might be having with people. So you can kind of feed that in and it'll start to learn more about you. And that's when it gets better. I mean, bad AI is bad AI, but the more it's behaving more like you, the more it's going to be better and more efficient for us to use.
Thank you. Tell us more about which part of the business has AI made the biggest difference to at the moment.
I really think you're going to see the most impact in the financial industry. NetSuite is a big ERP software that's used, and they've just announced reconciliation of invoicing and POs is one of the first pieces they're going to attack. And it makes so much sense because 80%, if you use the old 80-20 rule, 80% of the invoices that come in have a matching PO. And why not just approve those so that your finance team can then do 20% of the work they were doing? And so I think you're going to see it in finance first. You're seeing a lot of it in analytics. So you can kind of ask that spreadsheet that you uploaded it questions, and it can kind of tell you trends that it's seen in that way. I think it's just a much more natural way to interact with data like financial data or Google Analytics data from your website or things like that. It does really well at making correlations in those data.
Thank you. For influencers, which would you say are the most valuable AI strategies and tools to use?
You're asking for tools specifically for AI influencers?
No, what I mean is that for influencers, what tools should they be using in order to increase their influence and brand?
Got you. That combination that we just talked about, if you're like on LinkedIn for one, would be, using drip.com to kind of automate some of the curation. And then you can tie that in with a Zapier or make.com to your CRM. and then we talked about Clay AI enhancing your data and making it better. I think that's a great chain that would then lead right into like email marketing. But then I think when you take a look at some of these top, you kind of got to, right now, I think you got to have a mixed bag of a handful of different tools. Perplexity is kind of right now going against Google search, and it's kind of trying to make a case for helping with that. So the one thing that we got to be careful of as business owners is to make sure that like SEO is kind of starting to transition into some of these AI tools. So we got to keep an eye on that as well, because no matter what happens, we still need our business to get found, no matter who we are or where we are.
Thank you. Now, LinkedIn doesn't actually allow any sort of automation. So I do wonder how you managed to do that.
Yeah, it's a little secret sauce that some of these companies have. I mean, they are doing it. I do believe that you can get banned if you're not careful. So you do have to be careful. But there are a handful of companies out there that are making that happen. So I think it's probably gray area, Lily.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because I was I was suspended for using outsourcers, to manage my account. So I'm still trying to reach even customer support, which it's been months now. So yeah, it's quite a kind of an interesting thing. So I do wonder for LinkedIn in particular, what can entrepreneurs use in order to maximize AI to get better results?
The one that I know of right now that everyone is using is Drip. And again, I don't know if that's official. It's probably in the fine print that things are a little tricky there. Copilot is part of the Microsoft ecosystem. LinkedIn is part of the Microsoft ecosystem. So there may be some efficiencies there, but I can't tell you for certainty. And I don't want to be the cause of anyone else getting taken down, Lily. Oh my gosh.
But tell us more about how does Drip work exactly? So does it help you to connect more automatically with certain people and then to send them a second message, and based on what they do, if this then that kind of thing? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's similar to that. It almost if you put in a group of people that you kind of want to get to know, Drip will automate some of the looking at their profile page, liking a post, looking at their looking at some of the comments that they make. And so it kind of uses that sort of automation to go in and kind of create the activity that you might create on a manual basis.
Okay, that's very interesting. Are there similar tools, for example, for influencers to use on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in order
Those
to
I don't know
automate?
yet. I know like TikTok's a little harder because it's a mobile, mostly just the mobile app.
Mhm.
And the same with Instagram. So those, not that I've seen as yet. I know that there are some ones that can create the posts, but that's on the creation side, not on the kind of curating side, shall we say.
Thank you. There's actually an automation tool that I use. It's called Chat Fuel, which I guess
Oh,
it's not an AI, but it's a really useful tool for automating. You know, when let's say you do a post and then you can ask comment author or comment whatever something, and then
yeah.
once they comment, then you can say that the chatbot kind of takes over, and the chatbot, you can say it's almost like an AI, because
Hmm.
I don't know if it's considered an AI, but it's like an AI in the sense that it can help you to make sales because it can direct the customers versus a particular action you want them to take, whether it's an upsell, a downsell, and other options that they may want to take. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Is there any other AI tool that you recommend in order to help entrepreneurs to grow their business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Casti AI, like we talked about a little bit ago with customer service, I think it does tap into some of those chat and kind of messaging situations, and it allows I think we see some very bad implementations on the websites of, and they say they're a bot, but they don't have a lot of good questions. I think what we're going to see is a lot of those things get more intuitive. I know Casti AI is really big into helping customer service wise, not quite to the sales part yet. But when certain things happen, then you can create a workflow, and a workflow would just be an automation. So if someone said, I really need more information about your product, could I send you an email with this PDF in it? And yes, you could. So you could execute workflows based on the conversation. So that might be one of those ones I would definitely check out.
Thank you. Another tool that I used actually, that I actually didn't use it myself, but I was interviewing some podcast guests, and they were using it on my show, and then I happened to get an email about it, and I thought it was quite clever. It was Fireflies .ai and also Otter.ai. What's really cool about it is that while you are, let's say, doing a meeting in Zoom with someone, it will kind of transcribe the key ideas, and it will even give you some of the action points that you promised to do. So, for example, for the future meeting, I know Pedro promised to do X, XYZ. So that's very, very interesting. Were there any tools that you recommend for AI in terms of operational efficiency, admin, things like that, that will help the team to be more productive?
Sure. I think three that I think of. So there's another one that's like Firefly that's called Fathom. So it does a similar thing. If you're using the Microsoft ecosystem, Copilot will record and transcribe and do the same similar thing, put that list of to-dos together. So if you can imagine when Copilot has an agent, maybe it'll take it one step further. Instead of just displaying the to-do, maybe it just goes ahead and puts that on Pedro's calendar for him, right? Like creates an event to get this done by this time. So that's how you can kind of see maybe an agent coming into play there. And then there's one more, it's a hardware device that I like to use. It's called Plaud AI, Plaud.ai. And it's a recording device. It kind of connects to you. They have two devices, one of them that looks like a extra battery charger for your phone. And then there's a one-touch record. So when you're in a meeting, I was recently at a conference and recorded that information, and then it came back and generated a helpful summary via AI, which was nice. And they've also recently come out with a really small, another like note taker, and it's magnetic, kind of like the microphones that you see. And you can kind of just push it; it'll kind of vibe. You can take a note and turn it back off. For me, that's an invaluable tool that I use because I just always want to remember my notes, and I don't remember to write it down. And if I do, you never lose the piece of paper. So it's another one of those pieces of the puzzle that can kind of help you be more efficient as you go about your day.
Thank you. In terms of image creation, do you recommend any particular AI?
There's so many good ones, right? Midjourney is kind of the big leader in independent image creation. I think it's hard to doubt what Adobe has built in to their tools of Photoshop. OpenAI's version is called Dolly, and Dolly does very well. I think the key to this is really practicing your prompt writing for image creation. I think one of the most interesting pieces that I've used at times is instead of going directly to Dolly, say OpenAI's image creator, is to go to ChatGPT and say, I want to create a prompt for this image that looks like this and does these things. And OpenAI will actually help you create the prompt that then you can create for Dolly. And I've found better results coming when I do that. But also, Adobe they're starting to become now video creators as well. So OpenAI's version of that is called Sora, and it'll actually create videos for the same thing. So the space is progressing really fast. And I think if you take a little bit of extra time, you can definitely make some nice images for use in content, marketing, and all kinds of things.
Thank you. The other trouble I would say with AI tools is that they tend to be relatively cheap, but when you add up 1,000 tools times $10 a month, $50 a month, $20 a month, whatever, it ends up being quite a lot. So how do you curate which ones are actually worth paying for?
Yep, that's a good question. And you can spend so much time trying to investigate. There's a great show that you can find on YouTube that's called The Daily AI Show, and they have a 5 days a week video cast, and they do a lot of the vetting for you, so there's a lot of help there. I think what I've found helpful is most of the AIs, they have a free version and a paid version. And what I've found is you can kind of leverage, maybe get good at one of them and pay for that one. And then you can leverage the other free versions that kind of supplement what's going on. I think probably one of the best free ones might be the new Notebook LM from Google. And that does a heck of a job with just bringing a lot of information together. And the results tend to be very technical, as you would imagine that Google is technical, but I don't know if you've seen the deep dive software that they have within that, which will create a podcast. So you can upload a number of documents and it'll create you a summary audio podcast that comes out of that. What I've found that to be super useful recently is with knowledge transfer. So if you have a knowledge database of sorts, then you can create kind of a summary or introductory podcast right there within Google's Notebook LM. So a great one.
Have you found any AIs that are very good at copying and cloning someone's voice?
That would be 11 Labs. They're the leader right now in the voice. Oh my gosh.
Cloning.
Google heard me and it was cloning me right then. So no, 11 Labs is 11 Labs is definitely the leader in the voice part. So you can upload samples and then it will clone your voice, and then you can have it then read for you that way.
Thank you. I've seen some videos online of people that have clearly cloned their video as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in some of them, it was kind of obvious, but it was still good enough that you would pay attention because the information was very good.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to do it for me or my partner. Somehow, first, because my voice is a bit hard to clone. I'm not sure if that's because I have an accent and the AI cannot cope with that. And you would have to be like British or of US origin to be able to have a proper cloning. So I wonder whether 11 Labs is the only, like the best, you could say, best place to clone your voice in a way that sounds, the most realistic to your actual voice, or if there's any other thing that could be potentially better, because so far I haven't been able to find anything that does it really well.
I have heard that it has difficulties with certain dialects. I know that the Australian accent, I think, has become difficult for 11 Labs. I think 11 Labs is the top of the heap from the ones that you can access, but YouTube is investing a lot of time and energy into this because they want to automatically convert your voice to different languages just by drop down, kind of like captions, but for audio. And when they do that, they're going to change the lips as they move as well. So I think YouTube is probably the second best, but that's not something that you can just readily access, of course.
Thank you. If you want to clone your video to make sure that you're training your team, or that you actually create courses that can be sold with your likeness of your video, what do you recommend in terms of AI tools to make this happen?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the 11 Labs that we could talk for the audio, and then HeyGen is the big one in the avatar. They would call that like building an avatar. So you'd build an avatar in HeyGen, you would use the 11 Labs for the voice. And then I think right now, as you're perfectly correct, it's not quite there yet. It still doesn't quite pass the test. What I've seen do is, if you're creating a training, have the big screen be the system that you're training on, and then putting that HeyGen video in a small circle in the corner. It brings the size of it down small enough that it doesn't get quite so annoying when you see it do a little bit of weird things with its eyes, because you're almost not paying attention quite to the details. So I think for today, that's what I would do. I think by tomorrow, I know Runway is another good one that will take a picture of you and kind of animate that still picture. And it's doing some very spectacular things as well.
Thank you. Is there any way to protect your business from AI kind of being manipulated in a way that you could come out in public saying something that you actually didn't say and you would never say?
Yeah, I think that we call that deep fakes, right? I mean, we've seen some of them already. And unfortunately, until we I think what's going to happen is our whole knowledge of videos that we see is going to become almost, we're not going to believe it. I mean, kind of from 30, 40 years ago till today, when we see a video, we believe it. That's what we think is it. And now I think we're going to come into an era of time when we're not going to believe the videos, and there's going to have to be some sort of either blockchain, which is a part of kind of making sure that things are originals, or something's going to happen that it's going to get ugly, I think, before it gets better for a while, because there's no really way to protect it. And it's probably makes it worse that all these tools exist out there for us, unfortunately.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Tom Altman. Look for this shiny face made for radio, and you will find me there. I would love to talk, reach out, do a virtual coffee. It'd be fantastic. I appreciate you so much, Lily.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.